team like Kyrie and KD, or the Lake Show with King James and AD. Wish I could match him up with the bad boys from the 80s, but no black and white, I need that in HD. HenDawgz.
Yo, what's good, y'all? It's your boy HenDawgz, and we back to it. You know how we do it. NBA legends explain why Hakeem Olajuwon was so good. Finally, y'all, it's been damn near a year since I started this YouTube channel, and this is my first ever Hakeem Olajuwon video. So let's give me a round of applause for that. 'Cause I've been asking a lot of y'all, or not even just y'all, but just people in the NBA family, the NBA community, about who the best big of all time is. And you always hear Shaq, and you hear Kareem, Wilt Chamberlain, and these type of players. But then I also hear a lot of people like, hey, don't sleep on Hakeem. Hakeem was arguably the greatest big of all time, and I don't know too much about him. I know that he had like crazy footwork and all that, but I know he won a championship too that year that Jordan retired. Hakeem stepped right in and got the championship done. So that has to mean a lot. This is gonna, like I said, this is gonna be the first one of many. I'm gonna dive into a bunch more. But before we get into this one, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. We are on the way to 10K. I appreciate y'all in advance, man. If you're watching this video and you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and hit that button. For all the people that is subscribed, y'all the real ones, man. Y'all the day ones. When we get this channel to like 1 million subscribers, I'm gonna remember all of y'all who was around when I had a few thousand. So let's get into this video. We got NBA legends explain why Hakeem Olajuwon was so good. Let's get it.
I tell you, Olajuwon has David Robinson just bamboozled.
Hey, that's that move right there. That's the one Hakeem Olajuwon move that I recognize.
Hey guys, this is Dominique Wilkins.
Hey, this is Sean Kemp.
This is Gary Payton.
Hey, this is
That was like the one move where I was like, oh yeah, Hakeem, like, he got the footwork. Like, you see the crossover right before, like, I'm like, oh yeah, Hakeem has some finesse to his game, but I really haven't seen much other than that move.
What's up? What's up? This is Vince Carter here. Hey, what's up? This is Matt Barnes. If you're an old school NBA fan like I am,
You was trying to kiss
check
Shaq?
out the basketball time machine with my man Sean Davis.
Trying to kiss Shaq.
Hey folks, how's it going? Welcome back to the Basketball Time Machine. I'm your host, Sean David. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you're ready for your weekly dose of old school NBA basketball. In today's episode, I want to take a look at NBA legends giving their opinion about how great Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon was.
The Dream?
I know that there are countless videos like...
Hey, you know how good you gotta be for your nickname to be called the Dream? Like, that's hard. That's a hard nickname. But my question for y'all is, I always ask this question whenever he had these jerseys in the background, but y'all see Tim Hardaway, Latrell Sprewell, Scottie Pippen, and Grant Hill. Go ahead and rank those players as far as like in their prime, the best season that they had. Where would y'all rank those 4 players? I know y'all remember Sprewell with the spinner shoes. That was some classic time. But yeah, let me know. Let me rank those top 4 for me, and from best to worst.
like this in today's YouTube world, but I did my best to find some clips that you probably haven't seen yet. But before we dive into today's episode, let me ask you guys for a small favor. Please subscribe to the channel and like the video if you enjoy the content. And I would say enough said. Now let's dive right into today's episode. So how do we start? I would say let's start with Charles Barkley, and he was asked if Michael Jordan would have beaten Hakeem Olajuwon in the Houston Rockets if Jordan never would have retired for the first time.
That's a good question.
He was a monster. He was unguardable. The Bulls never went to a guy inside, so throwing Cartwright out there or Whittington, they wasn't going to ever get the ball. So Hakeem would have been in a very interesting situation. I mean, because he didn't have to play defense on those guys. He would have been trying to stop Michael, things like that. But listen, hey, it doesn't really matter. Nobody can take the Rockets championship away from them. And Hakeem is one of the best to ever do it. And that's all you can say.
I got two questions for y'all in regards to this. How old was Hakeem? in 1994 when they won that championship, that year that Jordan took off. How old was he? And also, answer that question. Do y'all think if Jordan would have never retired, would Hakeem and them still won that championship? Like, we would never know. Like, it's a hypothetical question, but for these type of videos, it's just fun just to talk about it and debate it. So, do y'all think that if Jordan would have stayed, it would just been 7 rings for the Bulls, and that just is what it is? Or would it have happened how it happened? Was it just Hakeem in the Rockets year? Who else was on that team? Kenny the Jet Smith, Clyde Drexler. Who was some other players on that team? I know Hakeem was the guy, but who was his supporting cast? Because I don't think there's nobody even to this day that's won a championship by themselves. So
Next clip that we're going to take a look at is from Gary Payton, and he has a very interesting point about comparing Hakeem Olajuwon and Shaquille O'Neal and answering the question, who was the better player?
I'm not agreeing with you on that because I think Dream was laid way better, and then Shaq had a lot.
I didn't hear what you said. What you said?
Dream was way better. I thought
he didn't grab his arm and everything.
Did you hear that? Wait, did you hear that?
Yeah. Because the Dream was all around basketball. The Dream had a lot of shake and bake. He could fade away on you. He shot free throws. He did a lot of more. Shaq was more of a dominant basketball player. Dominant. Where skill set.
That's all I was gonna say. I think it's without a debate that Shaq was the most dominant big of all time, player of all time. But that's not the debate here. You see the dude grabbing his shoulder, trying to get the viral moment. Like, y'all hear what Gary Payton said? Like, I don't think what Gary Payton is saying is too crazy or out the norm. Like, he's pretty much just saying, like, yeah, Shaq was the most dominant. But as far as skill-wise, as far as just being a better basketball player, Hakeem got it. Like, I don't think that's too crazy, but let me know what y'all think about that.
I'm gonna give it to Dream. I'm gonna give it to Dream.
That's no question.
But Dream could run the floor really well. Shaq could run the floor when he first got in the league and did like this, but then he became a player where you put it on the block and we had to double him because he was so strong.
The Dream.
What the Dream is, Shaq couldn't guard Dream.
Right.
Dream would give him 30 and 40 anytime he felt like it. But it was
He give
just
Shaq 40?
And we couldn't change that with Dream because Dream almost played like us.
Right.
Played like a guard.
Right.
He played like a guard. He's very finesse. You get him on a thing, he'll hit you with 19 moves, and next thing you know, you way over there, and he looking at you and you laying there. Dream goes to the floor. No, Dream you couldn't understand what Dream was saying in the first place. So, he wasn't really on that. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't
really on that.
Tell me about the 90s.
He wasn't really on
I'm
that.
going at the 5 spot. I'm gonna go with Hakeem Olajuwon. Because for me, I know I was coming in and I was emerging / already emerged. He was the only guy that
You gotta give yourself that credit.
I couldn't figure him out, and he was the only guy that I couldn't intimidate.
Which would be him, but in the 90s, I would take Hakeem
You
Olajuwon.
hear what Shaq said? He said Hakeem was the only person that I couldn't intimidate. That kind of just goes to show how dominant and big Shaq was. He like, hey, all I had to do was intimidate people, hit somebody with a couple big shoulders, and they was pretty much out the game. But with Hakeem, like, Hakeem ain't care about none of that. What was his measurables too? Somebody answer that for me. Like, I know Shaq was like 7'1", 330. Let me know how Hakeem was. I actually have no idea. Was he even 7 foot? Like, I'm not even too sure what his measurable was. But somebody let me know. But yeah, Shaq said he couldn't bully Hakeem.
And what it is that he represented at the center position. I mean, and he redefined what it was to be an athlete at that spot, in much the way that Chamberlain did with his footwork and athleticism. It was incredible.
He outplayed some of the greatest centers to ever lace up sneakers. He was so good that he was chosen over Michael Jordan. Much of what Joel Embiid is doing today, he was doing 30 years ago. I'm telling you kids just don't know how good Hakeem Olajuwon was.
And the next clip that
He kind of brings up a good point, because as great as Michael Jordan is, like, he's the GOAT. It's pretty much stamped that Jordan is the GOAT. It's not like people be like, the Houston Rockets messed up by drafting Hakeem. Like, you don't really hear that. So I think that just kind of goes to show how great Hakeem was, because he was picked before Jordan. Jordan was the 3rd pick, and Hakeem was the 1st pick. And you don't really hear too many people talking about how the Houston Rockets messed up. I mean, obviously, if they could do it all over again, they probably would have got Jordan. But it's not like this big thing where it was like the Houston Rockets had the first pick and they passed on Jordan. Like, no, they got a really great Hall of Fame player with that pick. So I think they was all right with it.
That we're going to take a look at is from Charles Oakley. And Charles Oakley is saying why Hakeem Olajuwon dominated and destroyed Patrick Ewing. So he's kind of throwing his former teammate under the bus. But anyway, let's check it out.
So talking like
y'all end up beating the Pacers, and y'all go have an opportunity to play in the championship game against the Houston Rockets.
Right.
Tell me how that battle was with Hakeem.
Well, like I said, it was a fight they would have stopped it between him and Patrick.
I thought they played the Magic.
As a team, we took it 7 games, but I think Hakeem was just more.
Hey, hold on. They would have stopped it if Come on, say that.
I'm confused. I could be wrong, but I thought they played the Magic in the finals that year. They played the Knicks? I didn't know that.
If Hakeem and Patrick was a fight, they would have stopped it. Because Hakeem just treated him like a mob.
James Posey got a podcast too? I did not know that.
And he would let it dry and bob it up again.
And here is what Rudy Tomjanovich, coach of those Rockets, had to say about Michael Jordan.
The 1994 NBA Finals.
He said the following quote,
the Houston Rockets.
Michael Jordan gave our team great respect. He didn't feel that they could contain Hakeem. They just didn't have the personnel to do it. And he said he thought we were the team that gave them the most trouble.
Based on those dynamics, Hakeem the Dream, you seen what he did in the finals against Shaq? What do you think he would have did against those guys? They would have been forced to keep them on the floor. And Hakeem could get out on the floor, Jacoby, and guard a Tony Kukoc. He has snatched every rebound back-to-back with Dennis Rodman. When he retired, remember, one of the best at blocks, one of the best at steals, played soccer growing up, could switch and pick and rolls. Like, Hakeem would have been a problem for those Bulls. That's why when Michael Jordan retired, Hakeem went and snatched them 2 championships up quick.
And the next clip that we're going to take a look at is from Eddie Johnson, an 18-year NBA vet. And he's comparing Dirk Nowitzki and Hakeem Olajuwon.
So it was the Knicks that first year that Jordan retired. And then the next year when Jordan came back, Orlando beat the Bulls, and then they played against Houston. Okay. It makes perfect sense. Damn, so Houston went back-to-back. Okay, makes sense.
So 2 totally different players, but he has a very interesting point about who's the better player.
Who's better? Dirk Nowitzki from Germany against Hakeem Olajuwon from Nigeria. Both of these players came here from foreign lands, and they have made an imprint on the history of the NBA. Hakeem Olajuwon, one of the most dominant defensive players in the history of the league. 9 all-defensive teams. He made 12 all-NBA teams. He retired as the all-time career block shots leader in the history of the NBA.
Damn,
he scored over 26,000 points to counter the 27 and going that Dirk Nowitzki has scored. But what separates these 2 guys is their dominance in controlling the game. Dirk controlled the game with his offense. He'd get hot and he'd go on a roll and destroy your confidence and force the coach to call timeout. Hakeem Olajuwon would destroy you on the offensive end and then would destroy you on the defensive end with his quickness and his block shot ability. And both of these guys came with a signature move. Now, who's better? Hakeem Olajuwon is better. Pretty obvious. Hakeem Olajuwon won back-to-back championships. Hakeem Olajuwon was not only, as I said, great offensively, but he was great defensively.
They had nobody that could guard Dream. They had nobody that could guard Dream. I'm going to say that twice because Dream was just that dominant. And I did that because when we played San Antonio one time, Tim was killing me in the block, and Phil refused to double-team Tim to get the ball in his hand. And Dream is 20 times better than Tim Duncan.
They would bring their
20 times better than
to San Antonio. Awaiting them was the team with the league's best record, the season's most valuable player, and some added motivation.
Congratulations, David Robinson, 1995 NBA MVP.
Especially for Hakeem Olajuwon.
I think deep down inside, with his personal pride, it gave him some extra fire.
Hakeem, who has the heart of a champion, you know he will respond tonight. He will respond.
So shouldn't have ever given that award out before the series started.
It was a point Hakeem would drive home to David Robinson.
We're killing David Robinson.
He didn't know how to guard a king.
If David Robinson is not quick enough to stop you, nobody is.
Dream gave him too many fakes, and I think that's just really frustrating.
I tell you, Olajuwon has David Robinson just for
He's killing that boy.
He kind of felt like he could do what he wanted when he wanted.
Robinson is saying, what must I do?
When he made that one shot where he wasn't even looking at the basket, he just finger rolled it behind his head and he went out. I said, well, somebody's in trouble for them. You know, it's going to be a long night.
Can you explain to folks who might not, again, be some of the young folks, what made Dream so special?
So, first of all, dude, everybody know who Hakeem Olajuwon is? Hakeem Olajuwon is, you should know how good he is when LeBron, Kobe, all these guys go to him for advice and on how to do his footwork. You know, this guy's footwork was some of the most amazing footwork you will ever see. But his tenacity in the gym, I mean, like, you think he was mad during the game. He was even madder during practice if the guys wasn't practicing hard.
Now, with all the clips that we have just seen, I have to repeat myself. Hakeem Olajuwon simply is the greatest big of all time, in my opinion. And I know Kareem Abdul-Jabbar ranks higher in the all-time list in terms of being the better scorer, but being the total package on offense and defense, Hakeem Olajuwon is my #1 guy. Anyway, just wanted to make sure that I say that before we end the video, and I hope I see you next time on the Basketball Time Machine.
Shout out to Sean David on the Basketball Time Machine, and I appreciate y'all for watching. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Go ahead and like this video if you like this video, and go ahead and write something in the comments. I need y'all right now before you go ahead and go watch your other YouTube videos for the day. I want y'all to rank the all-time bigs. Where does Hakeem rank in those? Is he above Shaq, Kareem? You know, who are some other guys out there? Will. It's a lot of great centers out there, and Hakeem is one of them. But I appreciate y'all like always. We out.